Happy New Year! We are now at the point in the winter where we might be feeling cabin fever. There's a lot of snow and cold and gray, rainy days, and we might be feeling the winter blues. I'm Caroline Poland, the founder and CEO of Poland & Associates Consulting, and over these next several videos, I will be talking about several tips that you can use to navigate this winter in a healthy way. My next tip is to focus on what you can look forward to throughout the day or for the coming weekend. We want to make sure that our days aren't just boring, monotonous, going through the motions. We're really living life in waking sleep, where we're not really putting intentional thought or energy into what we're doing. And again, that's really hard to do sometimes in the winter where the days just feel monotonous. We can't get out of the house. Depending on what's going on, whether it's the pandemic or just flu season or bad weather where we don't get to be with the people in our lives as much as we otherwise would, we want to make sure that we are still planning for things that we can look forward to and that will energize us throughout the day. So again, depending on what your hobbies are and what your interests are, this could be any number of things, whether that's baking, whether that's a book club. Would you be interested in planting and gardening inside, or training for a race, or creating a book reading goal, or learning a new hobby? There's so many things that we can do, but when we engage in life without effort, when we kind of move through things in waking sleep, we don't really create things that we want to look forward to or that we can look forward to. So planning for things several days a week that you can look forward to, that will energize you, will be really important in creating a healthy rhythm for yourself throughout the winter. My next tip for surviving winter months is to engage intentionally in activities that will help to widen that window of tolerance. Remember, that window of tolerance is just that zone or that range in which we can optimally function, where we face hard situations or difficult emotions, and we can regulate through that and stay grounded. And certainly we need that throughout the year, but especially in the winter, to make sure that we don't get too anxious, or really in the winter where we go below that window of tolerance, where we go into hypoarousal, kind of that shut down, depressed, numb, disconnected state. We want to make sure that we're regularly doing activities that pull us into that window of tolerance and keep us regulating in the present here and now moment. So I have a whole playlist on the window of tolerance and several videos there on ways to widen that window of tolerance, and I will link that above. So if that's something that you're interested in, make sure that you go and watch those videos and create a plan for yourself to regularly engage in activities that help to widen that window of tolerance, to bring you down from hyperarousal, or again, especially in the winter, to bring you up from hypoarousal, will be really important in keeping you engaged in healthy ways for yourself, for your work, with kids, and relationships in general, and will help to regulate your mood. My next tip as you go through these winter months is to just be very mindful about the words that you choose to use. When we start to get stressed, when we get outside of that window of tolerance, we can start to use words and phrases that aren't helpful for us. And words mean something. So specific words that we use start to trigger a series of reactions in our mind. And even if when we challenge it, we understand those things aren't true, in the moment as we are engaging in them, especially when we're going through life without intention or effort, again, the idea of waking sleep, those words that we use mean something to our bodies, and we haven't really stopped to think about that. So what do I mean by the words that we use? Well, when we start to get stressed, or when we start to go into kind of that numb, shut down state, we can start using a lot more catastrophizing language. Words like horrible, terrible, miserable, unsurvivable, I can't stand it. Things like that fall under the category of catastrophizing language. Now, of course, there are things in life that are really horrible or terrible or really do feel unsurvivable to us, but we want to make sure that we're choosing words that accurately align with the situation that we're in. So the more that we tell ourselves that we can't survive winter, that it's terrible, or that the situation is miserable, the more our mood will become dysregulated, and that will put us in line for increased likelihood of depression or seasonal affective disorder, or just lowered mood in general. So we want to make sure that if we are using words like miserable or terrible, that they're actually aligned with that situation and not things that are uncomfortable or difficult or not what we would prefer instead. Another category of words to look for is all or nothing language. We like to make things all or nothing, either or, always or never. And again, that kind of connects in with some of that catastrophizing language. But really, most things in life aren't always or all the time or never or none of the time. They're a nice shade of gray or a both and. And so when we can hold the both and of situations instead of making them either or, we're able to better and more accurately actually engage with the reality as it is instead of distorting reality to make it either fit this category or to fit this category. So we can talk that way in all or nothing language about other people in our lives, or about ourselves, or what we're accomplishing, or about the situation that we find ourselves in. So I want to challenge you to be very curious as you watch the language that you use and determine whether or not you are going into catastrophizing language or all or nothing language, and how can you bring that to a shade of gray that accurately reflects the reality that you find yourself in, that allows for you to hold that both and instead of having to distort reality to fit it either into this category or this category. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Poland & Associates, and my website polandassociates.com. And make sure to subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss out on future videos. And if you're interested in having me come and speak to your organization or institution or class, head to my website and you will find a form that you can fill out so that we can begin working together.